Hello, my name is Lauren Fisher. I'm going to be presenting a slideshow on lifting J-head screw jacks for concrete shoring scaffolding for my musculoskeletal disorder class for OSH 656. Now I'm going to try to get this from the beginning. Here we go. All right. So I work in construction, and this is something that we are doing right now in order to build the floors. It's actually how you pour concrete on the floors in a concrete building instead of a steel building. So the task at hand is the adjustable J-head screw jacks, which are on the left-hand side. You can see them. They look oddly similar to the feet of an adjustable tubular scaffold, and that's because they are. The only thing different is the addition of the actual J head. As you guys can see, it's turned upside down. Now the picture on the right, so that is the shoring system that we use. It is tubular scaffolding. You've got two vertical frames with an X bracket in the middle. And because our ceilings are of the height that they are, we actually have two levels. And then once you build the scaffolding, you have an employee climb up the side and they insert the J-head screw jacks into the tubular scaffolding. And then that helps adjust it so that the top horizontal beam that you guys see up there, the silver one, is on grade. So it's nice and level, or it's at the numbers that it needs to be. And then we nail plywood down. Once the plywood's nailed down, you put up some side forms and you can pour concrete. And then once that's all done, you can wreck it all down and put that on top of what you just poured and build your next floor. So why this task? So if you guys look at the picture, this is kind of how it happens. This task, you can imagine any type of concrete building. How many times they do this a day depends on how fast they are. Sometimes the scaffolding is taller. Most of the time it's not shorter in my experience. However, it usually is at least two sections. Multiple crews can be doing this, so you could have a lot at one time. For us, we have two different crews. Mostly they consist of 2 to 3 guys, and basically they are either assembling and handing up, or the people up top are making sure that it goes in right, it's screwed in right, it's safed up. Another person comes behind and checks to make sure that's on grade. Now, looking at this, our guys probably do it 36 times a day. Each scaffold system has 4 legs. And then the length of a building, you have the whole scaffold system. So depending on the day, they can do more or less and where they need to be at. The screw jacks is about 16 pounds. I actually thought it was heavier because an entire pallet is really heavy, but each one is 16 pounds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you do that multiple times a day for 10 hours, not 8 hours, 10 hours, then it does get heavy at the end of the day. So the assessment tools that I used were the NIOSH lifting equation, the REBA assessment worksheet, and Liberty Mutual's online tool, which uses Snook tables in order to measure the outputs of the work you're doing and correlates it back to the population. So how much of the male population could potentially do this in an 8-hour time period and how much of the female population. And it's considered a good ergonomically safe or low risk, ergonomically low risk task if 75% of the female population can do it. A couple of things with these assessments, all very easy to use. I really liked that the NIOSH and Liberty Mutual had online assessments, or even for NIOSH, they had an app for your iPhone, which is extremely useful. These days, you have an iPhone with you everywhere. If you don't, the person next to you does, and having these tools at your disposal is pretty awesome. And honestly, they made them so user-friendly. I think a lot of times companies get scared about industrial health or ergonomics in general, because there is a lot of numbers and very easy to get it wrong. But they made them very user-friendly. And then of course, my measurements, I used a tape. So measuring tape, just your standard Stanley 25 footer. So for my results, for the NIOSH lifting equation, I got a 1.5, which anything over a 1 is considered high risk, and you do want to bring that back down. For REBA, I scored an 8, and typically, I think 11 plus is like as high as you can go, and 8's still pretty high, and would require investigation. And then Liberty Financial, I was actually surprised by that we had 90% or more of males could do this on an 8-hour day, and 89% of females. So for Liberty Financial, technically, this is a good task. It is probably a low or medium risk task because of this. But 2 out of 3 of my ergonomic assessments put it as a high risk. So recommendations. So if I go back up, you can see that the screw jacks are now leaning against the wall. So that is actually one of my recommendations, that we lean it against the wall. They do come in a wood box stacked vertically. Usually the guys take them out of there, they go where they need to go, and they put them on the ground. You know, they bring 4 or 5 over at a time, and then they individually hand them up. Well, this way, if they lean them against the wall or on another vertical structure, such as the scaffolding itself, which is stable, then that reduces the flexion of the trunk, so they do not have to bend as low. Instead, it places the screw jack exactly at their waist height. And the screw jack is about 3 feet long, so it's pretty tall. And the good thing is it has really good hand grips, because your hand can fit all around it. It's only 2 inches wide. So it's very easy for them, if it's at their waist already, to keep it close to their bodies as they bring it up. I did put it back through the REBA with this assessment, and I still got a medium risk, which I would potentially like to get lower. I did get a 4. I would prefer a 3 or lower. However, most of the other items that I thought to try, such as using a rope, maybe for the person up top to haul up, would put more strain on the person that they're handing it to. So just taking away strain from the person on the ground doesn't necessarily take away strain from the person above. So those things didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but this is something that was very easily implemented right away on the job. And so now they just lean them up against vertical structure, and he does not have to lean over anymore. You could potentially, so none of these took into like gender, height, previous injuries, etc. So technically a person who is taller would not have to reach above. And if you look at the REBA score that is provided, you'll notice that probably our biggest number does come because they have to eventually reach overhead to hand the screw jack to the person up above. So a taller person technically would not have to raise their shoulders as high. However, we do not choose our heights, and our jobs typically are handed to us, so we make the best of what we can do. And the last recommendation, you could do a completely different system that does not require screw jacks. There are systems out there, however, that is mostly out of our hands with how buildings are built. That is for some big wigs to decide. So my recommendation is to lean them against the wall, have them ready and prepared so that they're able to easily be handed up. And thank you.